In today's episode, we'll look at a narrow, twisting canyon which has been used as a major transportation corridor since the middle of the 19th century, and the tunnels, both railroad and freeway, which were built to bypass it.
Welcome to this old road, and welcome to Elko County, here in the northeastern corner of Nevada. Elko County is the fourth largest county in the United States, but interestingly enough, it's not even the largest county in Nevada. Today I'm here to look at the Carlin tunnels. Located along Interstate 80, these tunnels celebrated a half-century of service just last year, shortcutting a sharp curve in a narrow canyon along the old highway and saving nearly 3 miles too. This road here has been used as a transportation corridor, well, probably since prehistoric times, but in historic times, first as an immigrant trail, so the Donner Party would have passed this way, as well as tens of thousands of westward bound immigrants on the California Trail, then the Central Pacific Railroad, and then US 40, all on this road. There actually are 4 tunnels bored here, 2 railway tunnels and 2 freeway tunnels, and their histories are intertwined, so let's go back to the beginning.
The canyon in question here, the one with the gigantic bend, is Carlin Canyon. During the time of westward expansion, Carlin Canyon became part of the route for the California Trail, and thousands of immigrants passed through here as they followed the Humboldt River on their way to the promise of California. The Donner Party transited Carlin Canyon during their fateful journey in 1846. A couple decades later, engineers for the Central Pacific determined that Carlin Canyon offered the best routing for the new transcontinental railroad on the way to Promontory Summit, so in 1868 they blasted out a level shelf along the river's edge and train tracks were laid through this twisting canyon. And that was the state of affairs for 3 decades. Transcontinental trains steamed through this narrow canyon on a twisting track with slow speeds. By the turn of the last century, Central Pacific had been taken over by the Southern Pacific, and the new owners were looking for a faster way to get their trains through here. They set their sights on going through a mountain instead of around it.
The first tunnel to be bored here was done by the Southern Pacific, and that is the nearest railway tunnel that you see here. That tunnel was completed in 1903, and it shortcut a very sharp curve in the Humboldt River.
Because the railway tracks were located on the right bank or north side of the Humboldt River, reaching the tunnel meant that the SP had to bridge the river twice at each end of the tunnel. This same pattern would be repeated 7 decades later when it came time to build the freeway bridges, but I don't want to get ahead of myself.
The next tunnel to come along was the tunnel on the far side there, bored by the Western Pacific in 1908, only 5 years after the Southern Pacific dug their tunnel. The nearer tunnel that you see there is the oldest of the tunnels. That's the one that was constructed by the Southern Pacific. This concrete crossing over the Humboldt River does not appear to be original. At some point over the last 125 years it was replaced. The further tunnel there, that's the Western Pacific Tunnel, dating to 1908.
The Western Pacific was the newcomer to the area, building a brand new line from Salt Lake City to Sacramento in the first decade of the 20th century. That line reached Windover in 1907, and they dug their tunnel here in the following year. The WP never had a line here before the tunnel, so they weren't replacing a surface line like the SP had done. They were building on the opposite side of the river from where the SP was, so their old line did not need to cross the Humboldt at the tunnel. But the fact that their new tunnel was only 100 yards from the original tunnel had dire consequences for the Southern Pacific.
The boring of that Western Pacific Tunnel, just 5 years after the Southern Pacific had dug their tunnel, caused some real problems for the Southern Pacific, because all of the blasting and shaking of the mountain caused some cave-in problems for the Southern Pacific on their tunnel. And in 1908, there were serious doubts about whether the Southern Pacific Tunnel was going to survive due to the sliding of the mountains that were occurring around the tunnel.
Despite speculation in the press accounts of the day that the Southern Pacific might have to abandon their tunnel, they eventually managed to stabilize the mountain and save the tunnel. That tunnel from 1903 is still the same one which is in service here today.
The mergers of the railroads over the last 30 years means that now they're all owned by the Union Pacific and are now operated as single directional unit of tracks. The next page in our story turns to the transformation of the old rail bed into an automobile road. So where the railroad had followed original pioneer trails, now automotive pioneers would use the old railroad bed for their travels. So it looks like the old railroad grade became a highway in 1913. So 13 years before the establishment of the U.S. highway system. Then the Victory Highway also used this route. The state of Nevada improved the old rail bed and converted it into a road which was suitable for automotive travel and called it State Route Number 1. The Victory Highway soon adopted this routing for their transcontinental route, and this route became a part of the Victory Highway. In 1926, this routing was adopted as a part of US 40. So this is old US 40 here in Carlin Canyon. The Humboldt River is off to my left as I walk westbound along the highway. And of course, this whole thing was originally surveyed and engineered and graded by the Central Pacific Railway in 1868 on their way to Promontory Summit in Utah, where they met the Union Pacific. And then there's the Humboldt River flowing down there. One of the larger rivers of the Great Basin. The Humboldt River here is flowing away from my camera toward the west. Of course, this being the Great Basin, it never makes it to an ocean. Eventually, the Humboldt River peters out in the Humboldt Sink, kind of south of Lovelock or north of Fallon, in the area that immigrant travelers knew as the 40-mile desert. Here's a California trail marker. These trail markers, made up of little pieces of the iron rail, are all along the California Trail. Over here along the edge of the road is what appears to have been a retaining wall to catch rock slides. Does appear to be a rock slide area. But look at this stone wall that they used. I mean, on one hand it makes sense because the materials were readily available right here. Why not catch a rock fall with rocks, right? This looks like a really old road sign. Just thrown off to the side of the road here. It may actually be in use by the rancher to help mark the location of the fence path through here. I doubt that it's sitting here randomly. Yeah, it's affixed. The next milestone in our history of the tunnels in this canyon came in the early 1970s, when the Nevada Department of Highways decided to bore 2 tunnels through the mountain next to the railroad tunnels to build Interstate 80, shortcutting the same curve along the road that the railroads had decided to bypass 7 decades before. Now, maybe part of that decision was a determination that perhaps Carlin Canyon wasn't really wide enough for a 4-lane freeway. I'm not positive about that. But in any case, they decided that they would build their tunnels parallel to the railroad tunnels. Now, I wonder if Southern Pacific raised any alarm bells at the time that the Highway Department decided to do that, given their earlier bad experience of additional tunnels being built nearer to theirs. But fortunately, in the end, there's no record that there were any issues with the railroads at the time that they bored the freeway tunnels.
The construction of the freeway tunnels implemented the same engineering design that the Southern Pacific had devised. The freeway crosses over the Humboldt River at both ends immediately before entering the tunnel and again right after exiting. The Carlin freeway tunnels were opened to traffic on September 25, 1975, meaning that they just marked 50 years in service last fall.
Here's the tunnel view driving from east to west. So this is the eastern portal right here. And then as soon as we exit, a bridge back over the Humboldt River.
Each of the 2 tunnels is 1,575 feet long, shorter than either of the 2 railway tunnels. At the time, the Carlin Tunnels project represented the most expensive road project in Nevada history. $8 million in 1974, that would be over $50 million today. Up to that point, it was the largest contract ever awarded by the Nevada Department of Highways. There's not a reduced speed limit in the tunnels. It's 75 miles an hour through the tunnel, just like the rest of the freeway, but lane changes are prohibited. And this is a good time to mention, the freeway tunnels are not perfectly level. They are slightly higher at the eastern portal than at the west. So, as you drive toward Carlin, you'll exit the tunnel at an elevation about 7 feet lower than where you were when you entered. If you're like me, you find the proliferation of really lousy AI videos polluting YouTube in recent years to be a frustrating plague on the user experience. You can help YouTube to weed out the AI slop by liking and sharing good videos, and I'll humbly suggest this one. I make the videos on this old road myself, by hand, out of a sheer love for the topic. So I'd be grateful if you could click on the thumbs up, and your fellow YouTube watchers will thank you too. As the highway tunnels reached middle-aged, they were starting to show signs of their age, so a little over a dozen years ago, Nevada DOT undertook serious refurbishment of the pair of 37-year-old tunnels. Among other things, they rehabilitated the pavement and performed seismic upgrades on the spans over the Humboldt River. But they also installed a new lighting system inside the tunnels. This was a first-of-its-kind smart system that adjusts the brightness of the lights depending on the outside conditions in order to ease the transitions between the darkness and bright to avoid temporary blinding of drivers. The traffic mitigation plan devised by Nevada DOT was unconventional, if not genius. The typical solution in such a project would be to work on one tunnel at a time and then use the other one for two-way traffic. The planners at Nevada DOT examined this conventional option, but determined that it would have resulted in opposing traffic squeezed into 11-foot lanes. But instead, they conceived a more innovative strategy that avoided two-way traffic. The state still owned that old right-of-way, that same twisty right-of-way that had been abandoned in earlier decades by both railroads and the highway builders was still in their possession. So they hatched a plan to press the old highway back into service during the tunnel rehabilitation project. Westbound traffic on Interstate 80 would be diverted off the freeway and onto the old US 40 highway for the duration of the project. And eastbound Interstate 80 traffic would continue to use the tunnels. The tunnels would be upgraded one at a time, and the eastbound traffic on the freeway would be shifted to the other one once the first one was completed. The post-project report indicated that this innovative approach added about $1.5 million in cost and 2 additional months onto the project timeline because the old road was in need of quite a bit of repair before it could be ready to carry interstate traffic. After all, it had been neglected since it was bypassed way back in 1975. But this innovative scheme proved to be much safer than the normal way of doing things because it avoided having opposing vehicles speeding toward each other on narrow lanes inside a tunnel. As an aside, without this project, I might never have been inspired to make this video because it was during this project that I first learned of the existence of this old Carlin Canyon highway because I was detoured onto it a couple of times during westbound trips back in 2013. That upgrade refurbishment was completed in October 2014 at a cost of $31 million, 4 times the original cost of the tunnels. Finally, the old canyon road is now still in use and maintained by Nevada DOT for use as a bicycle bypass for the tunnels. For safety reasons, cyclists are prohibited inside the tunnels and are required to exit the freeway at either end, and the Department of Transportation actively signs the old road as a bike route, and they've even paved a path on the east end so that cyclists can get back to the eastbound freeway lanes.
Today, all of this area along Old US 40 is under the administration of the BLM, although Nevada DOT still maintains the road as a bicycle bypass. So the old highway is maintained by MDOT as an active bicycle bypass of the tunnels. Here's the westbound signage here as you come off the freeway directly. For westbound traffic, it's simple enough directly to access the highway, but for eastbound traffic they had to build this paved bypass, which is signed as the 80 bike route. And eventually ends up passing under the freeway over there where the freeway crosses the Humboldt River.
So that's my look at Carlin Canyon and the Carlin tunnels. From Pioneer Trail to Transcontinental Railroad, Auto Trail, U.S. Highway, construction bypass, and now the bike route, Carlin Canyon has seen it all over the past 175 years. And the tunnels require only 15 to 20 seconds from end to end, making it super easy to miss all of the transportation history packed into this small segment. How did I do? Did I miss something? Or do you have any favorite memories of driving through the tunnels or on the old canyon road? Let me know in the comments. I read them all and I often reply. Remember, the content on this old road is always me and never AI. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, won't you please consider clicking on the thumbs up, because that's how YouTube decides if this video should be shared with more people who might be interested in this topic. And if you like the content on this old road, I'd be honored to have you as a subscriber. Thank you for watching.